in your blog post about reasons people stay in abusive relationships. One of the reasons is denial. And you write, this is especially true for male targets of abuse by women and LGBTQ targets because there's widespread cultural denial of partner abuse in any configuration other than male to female. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So a person just can't get their head around that they could be being abused if they've been trained to think about that it can only happen in one direction. It could only be male to female. So then if they're in a relationship, they're a guy who's being mistreated, they're not going to see it as abuse. They're going to keep searching for, what am I doing wrong? What I must be causing this. It can't possibly be her. It must be me, because the culture keeps, or, and there's this tendency in abusive relationships to make excuses for the other person. And abuse can come in cycles. So it's not always constant. It can be a cycle of increasing tension. There's an abusive occurrence or event. Then there's a decrease in tension, followed by an increase in tension, another abusive event, followed by a decrease in tension. And it doesn't always happen like that. But it can. This is another factor in the denial, because you keep getting hooked back in. It's not that bad, kind of thing. And I think it happens to women who are being abused by men as well. And just kind of, I see it exaggerated, this blindness, this inability to see what's really happening, both by the women who are being abusive to men and the men who are being abused.
So it's not only men who've been trained with that kind of mindset being unable to see that they are victims, but also women being trained with that mindset, unable to see that they are perpetrating abuse.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, not everybody who comes to counseling who's an abusive person is ever open to, recognizing that in themselves. Some people are not. Okay. What I've noticed is, in particular, people who their abuse is driven by anxiety, those are some of the people I have the best results with. Because they often will come in thinking that their demands and their controlling behavior toward their partner, which is driven by the tension they have inside of themselves because of their anxiety, they're not really looking at it as a bad thing, as something they need to change. They're looking at their partner needs to change so they're not so stressed. And those people I have the best results with in terms of being able to open their eyes so that they can see, no, they are actually responsible for addressing the anxiety inside of them. And then these relationships often will have, make great strides in terms of becoming healthy and happy. And I do want to address the LGBTQ separately too. I kind of, culturally, we are so not talking about this. And I think in a way, the LGBTQ community is hesitant to publicly talk about it because there's so much animosity towards the community that they really, it stifles them. They don't want to add to the negative perceptions. And so that holds them back from talking to people about it who might be helpful. Adds to their denial. They want to deny that this could be happening to them. And then the blindness from nobody's talking about it, or very few people are talking about it. So it's hard to recognize. It's hard enough for a woman, we've been talking a long time, a good 50 years, we've been talking about more and have more openness around men when men abuse women and how unhealthy that is. And we need to change that. We need to not accept that kind of stuff. It's still hard for women inside of those relationships to see because of denial and this just can't be happening kind of thing. And similar things, it must be me, I can change something, I can get through to them. And I just see it. It's bad enough in those situations when it's male to female. It's worse when it's the other gender configurations because we add that cultural blindness. And if they do reach out, they're often not helped. The organizations that are around for helping people in partner abuse situations are geared towards situations where men are abusing women. And I know of stories where men have reached out to those organizations and they get treated like an abuser.
You've heard stories like that. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So that just makes them feel more like, oh, it must be me.